Well, what's up, everybody? I am your host, Coach Megan, and welcome to this episode of the Powerhouse Podcast. I'm actually kind of nervous for today's episode. I'm sharing a part of my life and a part of my story that I don't think I've ever shared this much in detail in 3 years of having this podcast. So I ask you to strap in and turn your listening ears on and pray for me as we're going through this story today. But we're going to be talking about emotional eating. You know, I think I glaze over this a lot of times. A lot of you guys know that I dealt with emotional eating from the age of 19 until about 21, and I've had little spurts of trouble throughout the last 10 years of my life, but I've had massive breakthrough, and I want to share some of the strategies that I utilized to really help me get through. There are a bunch of really great studies and research now on what can help people to break through emotional eating, and I'm excited to share with you both that research as well as my personal journey here today. So thanks for getting vulnerable with me. Thanks for turning on your listening ears, and let's talk about emotional eating. Well, hello everybody. I am super excited to chat with you guys about emotional eating today, but like I said, I'm actually a little bit nervous. So thank you so much for partnering with me to listen to this today and for praying for me. I'm an 8, and so I don't naturally love being vulnerable. If I'm not 100% in control of that vulnerability, it's not fun for me. And but I really want to share this thing with you today. I have walked through quite the journey when it comes to food. I've walked through quite the journey when it comes to figuring out what the heck is going on in my mind and in my emotions. And y'all know, this is like we're in the 90s. And I've had so many of you guys who have been such a blessing to me lately. I was just on a phone call actually with a young lady last week who told me that before our free strategy call, she finished all 91 episodes and feels like we're already best friends. And I was like, oh my gosh, first of all, that's a lot of time. Super proud of you. And second of all, I was like, wow, that just means so much to me. That really gives me a lot of encouragement that we're providing a ton of value for you guys, which has been my mission since the start. So I am really excited to add this to the story. We've talked about this a little bit, and I think I've kind of danced around the subject a lot when I've told you guys about the moment in front of my mirror and my mom marching me in there. And I'm not going to go over that today because I've literally beat a dead horse when it comes to that story. But I really want to share with you guys really everything that happened around that, of what led me to that moment and what happened after that and how I got over some of these things. And it wasn't easy. Let me tell you, it was never really easy. And it was an accumulation of about a million jillion tiny decisions that have led me to becoming the strong, confident woman that I am today. And so I was actually just writing a social media post this morning, and I just felt the Holy Spirit drop, and I was like, wow, I guess I've really never talked about this as much as I would have liked to. So I'm going to share a little bit more about my high school experience and about college, and then I'm going to give you guys four strategies based off of research and then my own life experience of things that will really, really help you to be wildly successful when it comes to overcoming an eating disorder. Now, I would like to say that I'm not an official eating disorder coach. I'm not a counselor, but I do have some amazing friends in my life, one in particular who will be working for us very soon. She doesn't know I'm talking about her. But one of my former clients, Melody Pierce, is an amazing eating disorder and recovery certified coach. And so you guys can look her up, and I will put her information in the show notes if you would like to work with her personally. She is an anorexia survivor and has her own beautiful recovery journey. And you know what? Actually, I should bring her on to talk about this further. She has no idea that I'm saying this, by the way, but she's going to find out. So Mel, I don't know why we've never had you on the podcast, but we need to. So that's silly, and you're amazing. Before we kind of get into this, I want to just have a quick public service announcement. So we are announcing this publicly for the first time, but Pageants and Politics comes out this week, finally. And I was coaching a girl last week, and she's like, hey, can we do some mock? Can we do some on-stage question? I was like, yeah, of course. And so we were doing some mock, and I was like, you know what? Like, you want to work on on-stage question? Why don't we just kind of workshop this together? And I ended up showing her the inside of pageants and politics. We went in my Google Drive and I showed her all the files and listened to just like 45 seconds of the audio. And she literally responded like this. She goes, Coach Megan, this is everything I have literally ever wanted ever for on-stage question help. And if I wouldn't have done this today, I would have been freaking out and not known how to answer any of these questions. So holy crap, when does this come out and how do I get it? And she goes, can I like write a testimonial for you? Because this is literally amazing. And I'm like, let me think about that. Yeah, that we can make that happen. So she did, and she wrote a testimonial on our website, and that'll be up the end of this week. So that's number one. And then number two, we are actually only releasing this to our inner circle first. And so if spots fill up, at the time that you guys listen to this, I don't even know if this will be still available. So you guys can check our website for this, and I will put that website in the show notes as well. But we are hosting a mastermind. So I'm so excited. It's been like a year and a half since we've been able to do this. The last mastermind that we had was November of 2019, before the world was crazy. And so we're in phase 4 here in Nebraska, and COVID's not bad here. So we are inviting 25 women. I think 15 of those spots are taken, and I haven't even gotten the website up yet at the time of this recording. So by the time that you guys listen to this, it'll all be up and ready to go. But if you are interested in that, it is very inexpensive. It's going to be a little bit less expensive for our Inner Circle members. I always promote discounts and give you guys special resources and access when you're an Inner Circle member and a member of our community. Or if you've gone through the Interview Mastery Academy, then you'll get a special discount. But it's still very affordable for everyone. So it is Thursday through Saturday. It's going to be May 27th to 29th. And I really want this to be putting the final touches on a lot of your guys' prep when it comes to interview and mindset and branding and on-stage question. I'm bringing in 3 of my certified powerhouse coaches to help me, who are all alumni and have been tremendously successful state title holders and people who are just amazing human beings, who are coaches and just wonderful, wonderful people who are going to pour into you guys so much. And then I'll be speaking as well. And then we have my makeup artist coming of 10 years to do makeup on 3 people's faces. Could be you. We have a ton of different speakers coming in. We have a full videography team. It's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun. So it's here in Omaha, right in the heart of a really cool neighborhood that I'm not going to reveal publicly on air. But I'm really excited, and it's open to anybody who wants to come. So if you want more information, you guys can just go to the link in the website, in our show notes, and you guys can get that website. And it's going to be so much fun. It'll be so much fun. It'll be Thursday evening, all day Friday, and then a half day Saturday. And we're going to party. It's going to be so fun. You guys are going to learn. And like I said, it's all about polishing. So this is going to be lots of back and forth, lots of reps, lots of opportunities for exercises and to ask questions with people who have been in your shoes and who have gone where you want to go. And I'm super excited because this actually was started because a lot of my clients were like, Coach Megan, we've been working with you for a year plus, and we'd really like to meet you in person. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm honored. But yeah, I just wanted to meet a bunch of my girls too. So I'm excited to hug everybody. I'm excited to be with everybody. We're going to take safety protocols. Obviously, girls are going to get a COVID test before they come, or if you've been vaccinated or have already had COVID, then you're good to go, but we'll make sure that everybody is safe, and it's going to be a wonderful time. So thank you for listening to my PSA. Now we will talk about eating disorders. Not as much fun, but it is going to be fun because we're going to teach you how to have breakthroughs. So for pageants and politics, or the mastermind, or both, hopefully both, then y'all can just go in the show notes, and all that stuff will be there as always. Okay, so let's get into eating disorders. Here is where I think it started. So when I was, some backstory, I was bullied very, very, very harshly by women my entire life. And it had gotten to a place where I was playing on the basketball team, varsity, playing well. I had the lead in all the show choir stuff, all the leads in all the choirs, living on top, 4.2 GPA. On the outside, it was wow, Megan's crushing it. But on the inside, I was a happy person. I had some good friends. I would say my church family and my family and kind of my show choir family were really the people I considered my best friends. But I always felt like I was just looking over my shoulder, wondering who was going to make fun of me. And I hadn't given myself permission to be the fullness of the exuberant, kind of off the cuff challenger kind of person that I know and love to be, that I am today. And we all know high school's rough, middle school's rough. Just to give you guys some context, so I had a girl who bullied me for 13 years, who just scared the heck out of me. Like, I'd be in the same room as her, and she would ostracize me from our basketball team, and I just always felt like there were whispers going on behind my back. And I was like, do I have something on my shoe? Like, do I have something on my face? What's going on? And I regularly remember eating lunch by myself or having to just like force my way into friend groups. And it didn't make any sense to me because I was like, I feel like I'm a nice person. I feel like I love people. I feel like I'm talented. Like I'm not. I mean, I kind of looked like a naked mole rat, in high school. But before Instagram, we all kind of did. So Lord have mercy. But, I was like, I don't feel like I'm like that weird, And so I honestly would become really good friends with like teachers and just hung out with my family. And it was a really tough time. There were a lot of days when I would just come home bawling to my mom, like, I want to quit. I just want to quit. I want to be homeschooled, or I want to change schools because school was so hard. And in particular, there was one female who I won't give too much detail about just because I want to protect their identity, but she was a Christian, and our families were very close, and she just like absolutely hated me. She decided she hated me. To this day, I have no idea, like literally no idea what I did, right? And it's just one of those people who hold grudges to hold grudges. I don't know if it makes them feel better about themselves. I don't know if it, like, what that does for you. Like, I just was not born with that bone in my body. Like, I don't have enough headspace for that. You can forgive and move on, And this girl just was not born with that ability, apparently. That's a joke. We were all born with the ability to forgive, by the way. 100%. God's given each of us a measure of faith and the ability to forgive. So I'm not getting weird theologically, you guys. No one write me, please. But anyways, yeah, she claimed to be a Christian. She looked perfect on the outside, really close to our family. Our families were very close, but she made my life a living hell. Like, tried to get me kicked off worship team, tried to start all these rumors about me. And I just remember like the toil that it took on my mind, to the point of where I was sitting in AP stats class my senior year. She didn't even go to my school. And I remember not even being able to listen to the teacher. It was like my favorite class. I was a super nerd. I got a 5 on the AP like test. I loved it. Like, math totally is logical and makes sense to me. And I just love it. And I remember like, I was so devastated. I was so confused, and I felt under her spell of comparison that I couldn't even listen to what the teacher was saying. Like, it was just like this fog was in front of my brain. And no matter what I did to try and pay attention, I just felt lost. And so anyways, that was really, really hard to deal with. And I felt my self-worth constantly bouncing off of the praise or the condemnation of man, and ergo women. And it was mostly women, but not to mention, just to give y'all some context, like literally, I was so afraid of boys in high school that I was incapable of walking down the hallway. I went to a high school with 3,000 kids. I was incapable of walking down the hallway and just like smiling and waving. Like, I would literally make the most grotesquely ugly face as a coping mechanism because I was so scared to like be noticed. I was a weirdo. Like, maybe I was a weirdo. You know what? Maybe, I don't know. I was going to say I deserved it. No one deserved to be bullied, but y'all get the point. And, yeah, I mean, just some really crazy things happened to me. Like, I was uninvited from more things at the last minute than I could count. I was shunned from just eating lunch with people at the table, where, you walk up and everybody starts whispering and looking at you weird, and then they close in on a circle table so you don't have any space to sit there. Like, or I would eat alone, or I would go talk to my choir director. Like, those things actually happened to me, okay? So, safe to say, when all that was happening, I was ready to get out of there. I was like, oh my gosh, Mom, like, I wanted to quit basketball my senior year. I wanted to quit everything. And she's like, we're Swansons, we're not quitters. Like, there's life after high school. And I was like, no, there's not. Like, but there's not. I know there's not. And, the second you graduate, I was like, deuces. And it was like the best thing ever. And I realized that high school doesn't matter at all. And that life goes on. And I was like, yo, this is the best thing ever. So I'd committed to Belmont and I was ready to move to Nashville. And, I wanted to be Carrie Job since I was 13. And for those of y'all who don't know her, she's a phenomenal Christian singer and has literally like an angelic voice. Like you hear her and you're like, am I hearing angels? Yes, I think I am. And that's just Carrie Job. So, and she was a boss woman, she got married later in life. And I was like, totally going to be here, going to like work on my career, go to Nashville. The favor of the Lord's going to be upon me and I'm going to get a record deal in 5 seconds. So I went to Nashville and my first week of school and I was like, peace out, get out of here. Omaha has nothing for me. I'm never moving back here. And good riddance and goodbye, bye. So I went to Nashville and I'm in love with the city. I'm actually visiting next month and I'm so excited. I haven't been back in a while. And I was like, yo, this is about to be amazing. So I went to orientation week and went through my first week of classes and I was a voice major. So you have 8 billion classes, literally. Like you have 50% more classes than the normal person. And then you have rehearsals and then you have 0 credit hour classes and you have to go to these shows and all these things. And so I remember it was a week after I started school and I had 8 classes in one day from 8 a.m. until 7 p.m. And I just called my mom at about 3 o'clock, bawling my eyes out because I was like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? Like, I am not ready for this. Everybody is good. Everyone's way better than me. I can't even sing in my chest voice. Like, I'm a terrible singer. Why did you let me go here? Like, why did they accept me? I got in on a video audition. I was like, I'm terrible. Like, why did anybody let me come here? I am the worst singer on the planet Earth. And I felt just like horrible in my spirit where I was like, dude, I am worthless. And it was a huge culture shock for me because I really had to learn in that moment to separate myself from my identity being in my achievements, And I didn't do that well. I didn't know how to put those thoughts together at age 18. And one thing that I actually probably my biggest regret of college is we had free counseling. At Belmont, you get free counseling the entire time you're there. And I had such a stigma against counseling in my mind where I was like, well, I should just control my thought life. Like I should just be better at controlling my thought life, that I literally thought it was for like weak people who didn't know how to control their thought life. I was so black and white, and I still am black and white. It's the way that God's created my brain as an 8. But in a way, I wonder like what I could have learned. Hindsight's 20/20. But I wonder what I could have learned by just like asking for help and like being okay and not being okay. So I went through this whole first year and had met some really good friends, was super excited. All my friends happened to even be tall. Like we had this whole group of girls and they were all voice majors like me. And then a couple of really tall guys that I had crushes on. One in particular, literally everybody else was 5'7", as I said in my social media post today, 5'7", 5'8", like to the point of where my parents dropped me off at college and like, guess you're focusing on your education. Oh, isn't that so funny? I'm like, yeah, so funny. And it was not funny. And that's why I never dated anyone in college. Well, it's one of many reasons. I was freaking weird till like I started doing pageants. But anyways, so, not being the best person in the room anymore, I still was able to grow some great friends. But I distinctly remember, and the Lord brought this back to my memory the other day. I distinctly remember this time in my dorm room where we were chatting. And I think like this might have been, I think it was my freshman year. But for some reason, like pageants came up because I had done pageants when I was in high school, like once, right? I did ANSO, went to nationals, all that kind of stuff. And for some reason we were talking about pageants. And I remember one of my best friends turning to me and she goes, why do you always have to talk about the things that you're interested in? It's like super annoying. And I was like, okay, well, like what do you want me to talk about then? Like, this is called conversation. So I was like, okay, like, can you give me some other feedback? Like what? And of course she didn't have a response. And I remember she like blew up at me and we blew up at each other probably. This is 10 years ago. And I was like, great, I'm going to lose friends all over again. And all that to say, by the end of the year, I was super overwhelmed with everything. Like I couldn't catch a break when it came to wanting to just advance in my career because I felt like my voice was holding me back. And truth be told, you guys, like, again, a basketball player would walk by because they were the only guys taller than me. But I was so like caught up in music stuff. I never saw anybody. I wasn't meeting anybody. Like, online dating didn't exist back then. And so I was just like scared and I was really lonely. And I didn't realize, like, a basketball player would walk by and I would literally put my head down because I was too scared to say hi and didn't know how to put makeup on at all. Like, at all, you guys. Atrocious. Like, barely brushed my hair ever. And I just remember, like, my self-worth just started to go down and down and down and down, and connecting this to the high school stuff. So I didn't realize that not dealing with things, they still surface up later. Like, who would have thunk? Who would have thunk? And so, long story long, a lot of those emotions of being looked over or being chastised for who God created me to be, or you're too loud, or you're too tall, or you're, they would call me just these awful names of things that they were labeling me with. And then again, like in college, I would stick out, quote unquote, and I'm not a follower. Like, I'm just not. I can submit to authority, but very much my personality is like, I'd rather not unless you earn my trust and my respect. And if you break my trust and make me feel betrayed, like, you're dead to me, kind of a thing, but I feel like a lot of us are that way. Like, maybe that's not just an 8 thing. But again, I didn't know I was an 8, right? So you can imagine all these really strong characteristics coming out of me in a groupthink mentality of like, okay, join this choir of 400 people. And my brain is literally going off with all these alarms of like, why do I have to sing an oratorio from the 1600s when I'm a commercial voice major? This is a waste of my time. And I hate conforming. Like, I hate conforming if there's not a why attached to it. And if I can't ask questions and you just tell me that I have to blindly follow something because I have to follow it, that pisses me off. Like, I don't like that. That's like how to trigger Megan 101. But I didn't know that about myself, right? So then I'm just like collecting all these emotions, and I'm carrying all these emotions from just like saying peace out, Omaha, but not dealing with any of that. And then dealing with friends coming in and out and being in a new city and not finding a home church for 5 years. When I went to Belmont, I was looking for a home church for that entire time in Nashville. And then when I finally found one, I ended up leaving and moving back home. And so it was just all these different things going on. And so what I started to do is I started to emotionally eat. And this is before Instagram. So this is 2011 to 2012. Instagram started in 2012, picked up and got popular, end of 2013, beginning of 2014. And I know that because that's when I was Miss Nebraska. And so I had no idea, you guys, that like emotional eating was a thing, because there wasn't any really like research out there. Like, we learned about anorexia maybe, but you never learned about binge eating disorder. You learned about bulimia, but binge eating disorder was just not widely talked about, like, at all. And so I had no idea that I was feeding myself emotionally and using food as a control mechanism for feeling out of control. And especially for an 8, though this is for every personality type, I like control. I really do. And I like to be the boss. I like to be the leader. And God's created an ability in each of us to have leadership and to operate healthfully in our personality. But like, the 8 is like, God wired me for control. That's just like, he just did, right? Like, I was never born to like work for someone at a company. That's just, most 8s aren't, and they're trailblazers. And in that way, they can help break a lot of ground of new inventions or new companies or solving problems. But did I know that at 18? No, I did not. Are you kidding me? At all. And so what I did was I just harbored all this. And I'll never forget, all this accumulated with after that freshman year. And that's where you guys have heard the story a million times. That's where all that came together of not being able to stare at myself in the eyes and tell myself I was beautiful. It wasn't just a moment. It wasn't just like, oh, I had a bad day. It was this accumulation of literally years of emotions and now gaining 40 pounds and literally none of my clothes fitting. And my mom making loving comments towards me to try and help, but she didn't know how to help either. And trying to partner with me in a kind way of like, Megan, do you really need to eat that? But of course, I received that as, you're controlling and you think I'm ugly, when really I was reflecting in a mirror what I thought of myself. And so I want to flip the script here. Now we're going to talk about solutions. Now we're going to talk about the happy stuff. But I hope that you guys can empathize with that. I hope that that's helpful, knowing that like I am so free today and I've never been more free in my whole life. Food has no hold on me. And we're going to tell you how to get there. But I was at a place where food was the only part of my life that I felt like I had any control over. And that is exactly why people emotionally eat. It's the same reason why people don't eat. It's the same reason why people purge. It's the same reason why all those kinds of eating disorders happen, is because there's something in your life that's triggering a lack of feeling of control. And so we do something that makes us feel back in control. Okay. In the same way that some people have OCD, some people are obsessive cleaners, some people are obsessive workouters, some people are workaholics, okay? It's because you need to understand that every one of us wants control, and we're wired to want control. So I'm going to teach you a little bit of things that have really, really helped me in my own life, and some things that other people utilize as well. So number one, and actually I think I'm going to add one, so I think we have 5 now. Number one, this is why I believe a spiritual life is so important. Philippians 4 talks about how we need to cast all of our cares on him because he cares for us. I don't know about y'all, and it's okay if you believe differently than me. Totally fine. Y'all know how we roll around here. But when I think about not being able to lay my life down in the hands of someone that I can trust, that's a really terrifying feeling. That's a really, really, really scary feeling, to know that I have to be so self-sufficient that I am my own lid when it comes to my healing, when it comes to my growth, when it comes to what I have an ability to do. I'm the lid in my own wisdom. I'm the lid in my own strength. And at best, I can read a ton of books, build mentorship around me, go to every conference in the world, but I'm still limited by human, imperfect knowledge. And even though I could then lean on people, I could lean on a partner, I could lean on a best friend, a mom, a dad, as we've talked about with connection circles, those are great for specific purposes, but they're not so great when that person that you want to run to doesn't pick up their phone. Or that person's also having a really bad day and feels like their cup is empty and they can't really handle you needing them to pour into you that day. And that's where a faith life is so important, and where Jesus is so good, and the Holy Spirit who fills us to the overflow is so amazing, because it says that our cup runs over every single time that we lean into the Lord, and that his grace is unending. His mercies are new every morning. His love never runs dry. So I started to get a glimmer of hope when I really got real with myself and had a conversation with the Lord, where God was like, hey, Meg, I love you. I love you. You're my daughter and you're doing such a great job, but I don't have all of your heart. I have like 98% of your heart, but this 2% is killing you. And this 2% is not taking you down the road that I have for you. And this 2% is becoming the 98% because it's all you think about. And it's totally controlling your life right now. I'm going to need you to give that to me. And hey, I'm a safe place, and I love you, and I'm going to walk with you, and I'm going to hold your hand. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to be hard, and it's going to be messy, but I'm with you. And aren't you so glad that you don't have to do this alone? And when I was crying in the fetal position on the ground for 2 hours before I woke myself up from the nap that I induced, it wasn't healing overnight. And a lot of times it's not, because it's messy, right? It didn't take you 2 seconds to get into this mess. So it's not going to take you 2 seconds to get out of it. God does miracles, and I've seen them happen. I was at a conference singing this weekend and saw some crazy miracles that I'm not going to tell on air because you would not believe me, but they happened, and it was amazing. And I saw it with my own eyes. But I started to get this glimpse of hope when I finally was like, okay, God, this feels really scary to let anybody else into this world. And I don't really want to, because it's easier for me to control literally everything. So, but I'm going to trust you, and I'm going to lean not on my own understanding, because I got like no understanding left. I don't know what to do, but I'm going to trust that you do, and that you're bigger than this problem, you're bigger than me, and that your shoulders are a lot more apt to help me throw things on you because that's what you were created for. And when I started to do that, and my mom told me the wonderful message of little victories, rather than being such a black and white thinker, thinking that I had to quite literally build Rome in a day. And if I wasn't over this now, then I was a failure, right? Or I failed. I had to really start to work through emotions for the first time. And I really had to learn how to identify that emotion. And that's number 2. So number 1 is finding some kind of a faith journey. I recommend Jesus. He's the best and he can handle anything. And he's alive. I'm just going to let that sit with you. He's alive. But number 2 is identify the emotion. When we don't know what we're feeling, when we don't know what we're thinking, when we don't slow down enough, we can't process. And again, a feeling of a lack of control is because we're unable to process the thing that is happening, and we don't have a logical reasoning and a logical solution for it. So here's a quote that I love. Starve the emotion, find your focus, or solve the emotion, find your focus. So if you can process, hey, I'm feeling out of control, even if it's just that, or hey, I'm feeling powerless. That was a huge one for my life. And you can just admit that to yourself. Your brain immediately starts to go into process mode where it's like, okay, how do I fix this? And why am I feeling powerless? And how can I not feel powerless, right? Rather than just kind of spinning and being like, why am I broken? That's what your brain tells you. Well, you're never going to be enough. You're never going to fix this. This is always the way that you're going to be. And that brings us to number 3. You have to slow down. Now, here are some really cool strategies for how you can slow down. It's great for anxiety. It's great for when you just feel like you're over processing, or you like launch into your day and you're not in the right mindset. Here's some things you can do. One is Mel Robbins' amazing rule of 5, where you count down from 5. So you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And literally what it does is it's a pattern interrupt of the current pattern that's going on in your brain. And then you're able to slow down and refocus and choose a different thought that you want to think, okay? And you can kind of chunk down what's going on, where you're not just like, okay, I'm fat, ugly, and my life is over. You could say, okay, I'm having a feeling of powerlessness because I ate too much last night and now I'm bloated and I feel like that's going to last forever. But I know that bloatedness doesn't last forever, and chances are is that it's not going to be that way. I am empowered to make a better decision today, so I'm going to do that. And your brain starts to utilize logic, and you're back on track, and it's amazing. So that leads us to number 4. Number 4 is ask yourself the Apple question, which I love. So a really great, really practical technique that most coaches will utilize with you is all you have to do is ask yourself, okay, am I actually hungry right now? And I hated this question. I hated it when I was first starting off because I was like, I just want to eat. Let me eat and don't take my food away from me. Like totally just a jerk about it. I was a jerk about it. I was like, you hate me and that's why you're taking my food from me. It's like, whoa, Megan, like you've got some severe attachment issues with food. So asking yourself the Apple trick. Okay, so if you feel like you're in this place where you're like, I legit, like my ghrelin and leptin levels are just so jacked up. Like I have no idea whether I'm hungry or not. Here's what you can do. And you just say, okay, if am I hungry enough to eat an apple? And if I'm not, then, but like chips sound good or cake sounds good, then you're not actually hungry. Because sometimes what it is we've like massacred our thought process so much and really just detached the mind-body connection that we're like, well, I'm always hungry. So this is a really great question. Would you eat an apple? And if you are hungry, that apple will make you feel full, partially because of the elements of the apple. And that's a really great test, right? So if you wouldn't eat an apple, chances are you're not hungry. And that's a really great simple trick to teach yourself, again, to be more present with food and not just eat out of emotion. Okay, another thing that you can do, number 5, that I love is ask yourself the possibility question. So I love this question. You say, is it possible that I'm just processing an emotion, not actually hungry? So something that I've learned recently that I'm now adopting into my practice of coaching that is different than even how I coached a year ago is how we do affirmations. Because when your brain is lying to you, like negative Nancy, negative Ninny, Karen, whatever you want to call it, and that negative framework is just like harassing you, for lack of a better term, your brain wants to be, your brain's being convinced, right, of like an argument of you're a piece of crap or you need this food. So your brain doesn't just need this like, I'm not hungry, I'm not hungry, I'm not hungry, I'm not hungry. And then you just repeat that 8 million times. No, not going to work. Your brain literally needs a pattern disrupt to teach yourself logically that you're not hungry. So you have to ask it a logical question in order to do that. And the possibility question is a lot better statistically than just blatant affirmations. So what you can do is you can say, is it possible that I'm just processing an emotion, not actually hungry? And if I am, what emotion could that be? And when you do that, your brain starts to solve for that solution rather than, why am I so hungry? What am I going to eat? Because the questions we ask produce the answers that we get. When we ask better questions, we get better solutions. We get better answers. So those are our 5 things today. I hope that those have helped you. Thank you so much for listening to my story today and allowing me to be vulnerable with you. It's not always easy, but y'all know me. Like, I always want to be somebody that doesn't pretend like they're perfect, because Lord knows it doesn't help anybody. And I'm so not perfect. You're not perfect. And guess what? We can be a mess together as we are figuring it out and growing. And that mess becomes your message, right? So that mess has absolutely become my message. We've been able to help dozens of girls get free from eating disorders and get free to love themselves again and produce those pattern disrupts in their mind that allow them to think clearly, sometimes for the first time in years. And, so kind of finishing out this story, deploying a lot of these strategies, you guys, it took me about a year and 3 months, because I remember distinctly, I had won Miss Douglas County. Actually, this is a year before that. Yeah, year before that I got free. So this was my sophomore year. I'd come home for Thanksgiving and I looked down at my plate of food, and I remember for the first time in like 2 to 3 years, I didn't feel anything. And I didn't feel that compulsion of like, I have to finish this or else ... right? And we're all raised with different reasons why we overeat. It could be your parents made you finish your food. It could have been you grew up in poverty, so you're like, oh my gosh, you have to eat or else that's being wasteful. Or it could be reasoning like mine, where it was just emotionally comforting. So I remember that glorious day when I looked down, it was Thanksgiving, and I was just like, and I talked to my mom and I said, oh my gosh, Mom, like I feel nothing. I don't have to finish my food. And it was like this switch just went off in my head, and I knew that I was free. And what I've been doing every single day was implementing these 5 strategies. And then every single time that I would eat, I would pray over my food and I would say, you do not have emotional power over me in Jesus' name. Food is just food. It's fuel. It's not fueling my emotions. And I am joyful and happy and present and whole with or without this food. And every single time, even though, want to know how I started off saying this? It was like, food is not this. It's just not this. This is not. And if you can see me on video right now, literally just rolled my eyes to the back of my head and back. Like, I was the biggest challenger of like my own process. I was the biggest, like, not helpful person in my own process. But what's so cool, you guys, and I'll finish with this, is that, gosh, along the way, like, God taught me humility. God taught me to not harden my heart. God taught me to build a better relationship with my mom. God taught me that people weren't against me. And God really taught me a lot of things that I needed to work on that were really beautiful and necessary as I was going through the refiner's fire, of God, and just Him like humbling me and growing a love for myself. And I realized that, you know what? I had to partake in my own healing. Like, there was a pretty good chance that the reason why some people didn't want to be around me in high school and in college, and thank God I went through this, because I think without it, I wouldn't have won Miss Nebraska. I wouldn't have become a person worthy of that, even though I still felt completely unworthy when I won Miss Nebraska at 21 and didn't know anything. And now I feel like I'm getting there at almost 28, in 2 weeks. And, but yeah, like there was a beautiful refining process that I'm so thankful that I went through that allowed me to become the person that I am today. And so it's always darkest in the moment, you guys. It's always darkest before the dawn, but I promise that God wants your healing for you even more than you do, and that it's totally possible. It's totally possible for you to break through from any eating issue or alcohol issue or codependency issue. And you can utilize a lot of these same strategies and just, change the industry really of what's going on to help you reach all those goals and to help you become the person that God sees you as, that I see you as, and that so many other people around you that love you see you as. So I want you guys just to visualize the person that you believe that you could be. And I want you just to make sure that you write that down today. You visualize that, you paint the picture in your head, you build that movie reel like we talk about at Powerhouse. I want you to know every single detail of what that looks like, what it smells like, what it feels like, what it tastes like, all these different things, what it sounds like. And to get more vibrantly aware of what you could be and the possibilities of your freedom and your healing and the beautiful future that God has for you, rather than being so incredibly aware of just where you're at right now. And I promise, utilizing these different strategies every single day, bit by bit, those scales are going to start to tip. And those negative voices on the inside of you, those impulses that you don't want to give way to, are going to get quieter as you turn down the volume on those things and you turn up the volume to your identity and the blessing and just the purpose that God has for you. And I so look forward to getting to be a part of it. I can't wait to hear about it. I'd love for you guys to write us about it, and just look forward to the amazing hope and future that God has for you. So with that, I'll see you guys next week. Hey guys, Coach Megan here, and again, welcome to Season 3. I'm so happy to have you here. Please, a couple things I wanted to just say. Share this with a friend that you know needs to hear this today. We give out this free information all the time because I'm so passionate about lowering the barriers to entry for women to be successful in pageantry, but also to grow themselves as transformative leaders that know their identity, are great communicators, leaders, and also are initiating and engaging in their calling. So with that, one thing I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of is a brand new program that we beta launched last fall called the Interview Mastery Academy. And there's nothing like it on the market in the pageant industry. And as a competitor and a coach, somebody who's gone through this and been in your shoes several times, I created this because there was a hole in the market, and I am here as a coach and as a person who loves women's empowerment to fill those gaps and see those problems and provide solutions for you guys. And so this is an 8-week course that is not just pageant coaching, although it will transform your communicative ability as well as your leadership. It's also going to transform you as a person. We get down into the nitty-gritty about your mindset, your different personalities, your core values, your style, your social media. I teach you how I built a 6-figure company online, specifically through Instagram. We go through everything from your platform to your paperwork to onstage question to the advanced questions framework. We handle everything. It is all-encompassing, you guys. I even have 2,000 practice questions as well as timed mock interviews and a national level packing list. I have truly put everything on the inside of this academy, and we'd be honored to have you be a part of it. So how you can get involved is at the end of every episode, you guys can DM us on Instagram. You can email us info@powerhousepageantry.com, or the easiest way is just to click the link in the show notes, no matter where you're listening, and we'll send you right on to be able to access either a one-on-one strategy call with me personally, a free 30-minute call, or if you're ready to sign up, you can just tell us and we'll give you the information to purchase. It is something that will absolutely, positively transform your entire life, guaranteed, and I've created it as a total replacement for one-on-one coaching so that through the craziness of life and the busyness of your schedule, you can ensure that you have everything necessary to be successful in pageantry, but on your own time and on your own terms. So if you'd like more information, click the link in the show notes or email info@powerhousepageantry.com, and a member of our team will make sure that you are taken care of. And with that, I love you guys so much. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure that you are following us on social media at Powerhouse Pageantry and at Megan_Swanson. And with that, we'll see you guys next week.